It's beginning to feel like spring. I started the first seeds of the season, which always makes me metaphorically feel like I'm starting the seeds of my life. Food that will feed me for the year, but also planting new beginnings. I fell in love with gardening years ago when all I had were a few raised beds. I was pulling weeds. There was just something about being on my hands and knees in the dirt, feeling the pain and exhaustion from being crouched over, the sun hitting my back, sweat pouring down my face that made me feel calm and at peace. Especially during a tough time when my marriage was falling apart. But being on the ground, in the dirt, pulling weed after weed by hand, transported me into another world, a world beyond what society was telling me it should be. There's a divine connection to this earth and the cosmos that can be deeply felt when you connect with it in such a raw way. It's one of the reasons why I take my clothes off outside, because it feels natural and good. It's my meditation. When I show up in the garden without clothes, all sense of identity disappears. All the labels we put on ourselves and on other people, the way we think we should live or be, how much money we have or don't have. Mother Nature doesn't care about any of that. She welcomes you with open arms, no matter what. When it's just me, the trees and the birds, I feel a release, more calm. It's peaceful out here. And when I know that I am soaking up the sun, getting natural vitamin D, connecting with the elements, it brings me back to a humbled place. I suppose it's no different than in some cultures removing your shoes at the door. It's an act of honor and respect, an offering. And while I don't show everything here, because sadly I know how that kind of content is used, and many, including this platform, doesn't share my same views on the body and connecting with nature this way. But you can join me on Patreon, where I share a little bit more. The Hopi tribe, who have lived in Arizona for over 2,000 years, talks about the splitting of two worlds, a point when humanity will have a choice as to which two paths to take. It makes me think about where we are today, when one world feels like it's ending and another is just beginning. I'm choosing to move into a world of hope and possibility. One that's full of beautiful gardens and goodness, where people take care of each other, not fight one another. We're all trying to navigate this world, trying to make sense of it and survive it. We all want to be seen, heard, loved, and cared for. Our wounds can lead us into dark places, but they can also help us feel more deeply and give us empathy to better connect with others. The moment we stop caring for one another, we've lost touch with our humanity, with spirit. We are co-creators of our reality. What we think and what we feel matters. So my journey in creating the kind of world I want to be part of begins here. I've been starting the first seeds of the season. The new moon was in the very fertile sign of Pisces, so it was a good time to plant some above grounders, such as kale, chard, and spinach. Taking care of something so fragile, so delicate, it takes a soft touch, a certain level of care to want to see that plant grow and be well. no matter the time it takes, what you need to give it to make sure it survives the season, to be strong and healthy. You give yourself without knowing how it will turn out, but always hoping for the best. When I moved here almost 6 years ago, I started building the gardens. I had ideas of what I wanted it to look like, but above all, I knew what I wanted it to feel like. I wanted to create a beautiful space that I'd want to return to again and again. But it had to make sense too and function the right way, which required some careful planning. I learned some things the hard way over the years and continue to learn as my garden grows. I know that even though I'm trying to add a lot more perennials, edible perennials, and some medicinal plants in my garden, I also, of course, like to grow some of the annuals that I enjoy eating. So that includes things like kale, broccoli, spinach, mustard greens, collards, chard, a lot of these different varieties that we typically love to grow, but they can be very, of course, challenging and require a little bit more maintenance because they are annuals. They are susceptible to pests, and you have to really stay on it. This year I really did a good job of staying on top of a lot of the pest issues with my kale plants, my brassicas, which I know are typically ones that get attacked every year. And so I've been staying on top of those, but I know a lot of these plants here are going to be reaching the end of its maturity cycle, its growth cycle. And so I really want to start some new plants to give it new life in the garden for that final season, that final stretch before winter comes. And I know it's crazy to even be talking about that and preparing for that, but this is what you have to do. You pay attention to the cycles, the natural rhythms, and you have to prepare for those when you know those shifts and changes are coming. And oftentimes I can even feel when they're coming. And you can feel, especially when you are out in nature this way, more deeply connected, you begin to recognize those subtle shifts and changes. And it's amazing, it's beautiful, and something to really tap into. And when you do, your entire world begins to change and you begin to view everything a little differently. And so it gives me that ability to think about how I need to make changes, move things around, when I need to start growing more seeds, when I need to harvest, all of these things. And when I actually garden, of course, and plant by the moon and signs, that also brings a whole new element into the garden and also shows me a lot about myself too, and how I also am related to I'm affected by these same cycles, these same cyclical motions that take place around us all the time. Everything is constantly changing, everything. And there's nothing that's fixed. And that includes us. And so I try to be mindful of that. And even though gardening, of course, certainly keeps you on your toes for these very, very same reasons, everything is always changing day to day. That's also one of the beautiful things that I love about it. I mean, when you can actually step outside and not know what the weather's going to do, you can be completely taken by surprise with a vast windstorm that comes through, blows everything down, or a lot of rain that comes in and floods. You experience a lot of flooding of your crop, of your land, and you have to just go with the flow and try and figure out a solution. It's a matter of tapping into the natural world, speaking its language, learning how to decipher its language, and really dancing with it, creating a beautiful rhythm with it, because we are part of it. We're not separate from it. And I think that we have gotten so far removed from it over the years and years and years, even beyond our lifetimes. And it's important to get that back. So, every time I step outside and I step into the garden, it's bringing me all that much more closer to it. And I'm very, very grateful to have this deeper connection now with the land. And I'm trying to just continue that relationship, building that, because it's so important. So very important. Now that the weather is getting warmer, I'm starting to work on the garden and get it ready for spring planting. It's one of my favorite times of the year, when everything comes back to life. But I am so excited right now about this garden. I just kind of keep coming out here, looking at it, waiting for the snow to melt. I know my goats are really ready for the snow to melt. They've just been so stressed out with all of this weather, the cold temperatures, because this is the longest we've had of this cold tundra weather. At one time, and in a very long time. I can't even remember the last time we had weather like that. So it is crazy. But I've just been making my list of projects, things that I want to dig into, especially when spring rolls around, things that we just have to get done, as I'm sure many of you guys are doing the same. And just figuring out, where do I go from here? Getting my plan into place, and also making sure that this year I go into it with intention, and making sure that I am not getting myself to a place of burnout, which I know sometimes, again, especially when spring comes, I get all that energy that I had been kind of restoring and replenishing throughout all of winter through rest and restoration. And come spring, I am like ready to go. And I just am like I just explode into it, much like the color begins to explode back into the earth when spring arrives. So that's of course normal, but I also have to learn how to pace myself better and to be able to delegate when I need to, and not feel the need to just like do it all myself. I know that's a hard lesson I had to learn when living this way, is to not feel like I have to do it all alone. So I know that I have been definitely asking for the help when I need it. And especially when it comes to a lot of some of the heavy lifting of things, which I still love doing myself, because it's just a great way to feel alive in your body when you can do some of that tough work and know that your body is able to, even though sometimes you can reach a point of exhaustion through that process, there's something to that, being able to put in that hard grit work and feel by the end of the day satisfied that you accomplished something, you did that. But I also have to equally take very good care of my body and do it with balance. All of this year, I feel, though we are entering into some really challenging times, very challenging times, this is definitely a time to be spiritually strong. And I will say that again, be spiritually strong. And so that is the focus for me this year, is to really make sure that I'm protecting my spirit at all costs, continuing to develop in my spiritual world. Part of that process for me is getting out in nature, connecting with it more deeply, and growing plants, growing things. There's a meditation in that. That is where I can just kind of tap in and experience kind of like a flow state, and almost kind of be teleported into just another state of being. And that is, to me, spirit. Every year I grow ginger. It's one of my favorite plants to grow. I start them indoors in late January because they take 8 to 10 months to grow. They're a tropical plant, so they need a lot of warmth. The greenhouse was too cold, so I had them inside the house on heating mats. But they grew so fast this year, so it was time to transplant them. This is what I woke up to this morning, and it has been snowing all day, and it has not stopped. I've been out here, I've shoveled a couple times, and it's not nearly enough. The goats are struggling. They're just so tired of winter. I can't say that I blame them, but look how beautiful this is. The greenhouse right now is completely buried. I can't even get into it right now. So luckily I checked on my plants, or rather my seed starts, yesterday, because yes, I have started seeds. Yay, the first seeds of the season, and my ginger. So I luckily got to get a head start on some of that before all of this hit. So I hope you guys are enjoying the rest of winter. And we'll see how things go before, luckily, I don't know, it's kind of strange to think that spring is just a few weeks away, but it really is, guys. So I don't know what it's doing in your part of the world right now, but here, this is what we're dealing with right now. Last year, I tried something new in the goat pen. Every time it rains, it gets very muddy. And we had been laying down sand, but that got very cumbersome. So we decided to switch to wood chips. We got 3 deliveries of wood chips last year, so we had a lot of them. Using wood chips in the goat pen worked for a while, but then we started to have some issues. A goat got sick last year, and another one was starting to show signs of mites. I read mixed reviews about using wood chips for goats, so I decided to change back to sand to keep them healthier, just in case that was the problem. I also installed new mineral feeders and loaded them up with good minerals to keep them well, and they know what their bodies need, so they take what they want when they need it.
This one looks.
We have a few more projects that we're going to take on this spring, and for some of them, I hired some help. Doing all of this work can be a lot, but I learned early on when building a life out here that anything of real value doesn't come easy. It takes grit and self-sacrifice to unearth the magic. It's almost as though it's a ritual, a giving of oneself in order to receive. Mother Nature has a way of humbling you when you're knee-deep in mud, covered in dirt, bloody knuckles, blistered fingers, with sweat pouring down your face. The ego dies as she brutally reminds you that you are not above it, or even separate from it, but a part of it. The greatest teacher, again and again.